Hey guys, it's Miss Golden. This is chapter 3 and 4 of It's the First Day of School Forever. Dun 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 by R.L. Stein. Chapter 3. It had rained hard the night before. The sky was still gray with streaks of morning yellow breaking through. The street and sidewalk were filled with big puddles of rainwater. Eddie insisted on jumping into all of them. "Stop it! You're splashing me," I shouted. That made him giggle. He leaped into a wide puddle with both feet. His sneakers were soaked, but he didn't seem to care. He only cared about making big splashes. Ba-boom! 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 He cried out with each splash. I tried to stay as far away from him as I could. I saw several other kids from school. I didn't want them to know that this jumping chimpanzee was a part of my family, but I had to hold his hand when we crossed the streets. If I didn't, he'd tell Mom. Eddie got such a thrill from snitching on me. His school was only three blocks from our house. With him dancing and jumping and splashing, it seemed like 3 miles. Ba-boom! 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 "Stop splashing. Can you walk?" I demanded. "No," he replied. "I can only jump." He leaped into a muddy puddle and sent water flying all around him. Aardvark Middle School was 2 more blocks down the street. Could I drop Eddie off at the door and make it to my new school safely? No. We stepped up to the corner across from his school. It was a long, one-story brick building with a grassy playground on the side. On a tall pole near the entrance, the American flag flapped against the gray sky. A big black and yellow sign near the front of the walk read, "Cyrus Elementary, home of the Fighting Bumblebees." Eddie grabbed my t-shirt sleeve. "What does that sign say?" he asked. "It says Big Baby School," I told him. "That's the name of your school, Big Baby School." "It does not," he cried. I was about to reply when the truck came roaring by. It was one of those long silver tank trucks with the word gasoline on the side. It thundered past us. Its engine roared like a wild animal. The big tires shot through a wide puddle, sending a huge tidal wave of water over the sidewalk. I felt a splash of cold on the front of my jeans. With a gasp, I glanced down. The front of my jeans was soaked through. My mouth dropped open. It happened so quickly. I just stared at the big dark stain on the front of my jeans. And then I heard Eddie start to laugh like a maniac. "It looks like you peed," he cried. Chapter 4. I took Eddie into his school and dropped him off in his classroom. His teacher had bright red hair and a lot of freckles. She said, "Hi and welcome," to my brother. But she was staring at the front of my jeans the whole time. At least I thought she was. I tried to tug the bottom of my t-shirt down over the wet stain, but the t-shirt was too short. Why were my jeans taking so long to dry? I tried to walk slowly to my school to give them time to dry, but I didn't want to be late. Other kids were hurrying past me. I could swear each one stopped to stare at the wet spots on my jeans. But maybe it was my imagination. Ardmore Middle School looks more old-fashioned than my brother's Big Baby School. His school looks like a long ranch house. My school looked like a school you see in old movies on TV. It was a tall gray stone building with lots of windows up the front of its 4 floors. Ivy creeps down from the roof and dangles over nearly half the front wall. I saw a teacher's parking lot filled with cars. Behind it, a small football stadium with bleacher seats on both sides. Some kids were tossing a baseball back and forth on the sidewalk at the bottom of the front steps. I glanced down at my jeans, still wet. With a sigh, I started to climb the stone steps that led to the white double doors at the entrance. I was halfway up when I recognized the man in the brown suit at the top. He was Mr. Jinks, the principal. I'd met him when my mom and dad brought me to see my new school for the first time. He was shaking hands and greeting every student. Mr. Jinks was a smiley kind of guy. He had a round bald head. He had a round bald head and tiny blue eyes, and he always seemed to have a smile on his face, like it was painted or glued on or something. His eyes, nose, and mouth were jammed in the middle of his face. When I first saw him, I thought of Mr. Potato Head, but he seemed like a nice guy, and his smile was a kind smile. He stared right at you with those little blue eyes, like he was really interested in what you were saying. And he had a soft voice, very calm. I only met him that one day last summer, but he seemed much nicer than my old principal, who liked to act tough and give orders. Artie, hello, he said. He reached out and shook my hand. I smelled peppermint on his breath. Welcome to Ardmore. Was he staring at the wet stain on my jeans? Two girls passed by. They both looked at my jeans. I know they did. Mr. Jinks adjusted the collar of the yellow turtleneck he wore under the brown suit jacket. First, you need to find whose class you are in, he said. The class lists are posted on the wall across from my office. Thank you, I said. I started to step past him, but he stopped me. Artie, I'm sorry. We don't wear baseball caps in this school. Could you take yours off? Sure, I said. I grabbed the bill of my cap and started to tug. I was surprised when the cap didn't slide off easily. It was stuck. Then I remembered why I was wearing the cap. Syrup hair. I had no choice. I gave the cap a hard tug and let out a sharp cry. A massive chunk of my hair came off with the cap. That syrup was worse than glue. Now I had a big bald spot on the side of my head. I tried to straighten what was left of my hair, but it was matted and sticky. It was matted in sticky, stiff clumps. Well, okay. I was not exactly going to be the coolest looking dude in the 6th grade today. Look out! Someone shouted from the bottom of the stairs. A baseball bounced off the wall near my head. I turned to see a blonde-haired kid in a pale blue sweatshirt. Sorry, he said. He picked up the baseball and tossed it to his friend across the grass. Mr. Jinks was saying hello to twin girls who were both laughing hard about something he'd said. Covering the side of my hair with one hand, I stepped into the school. I was nearly through the front door when I heard a commotion behind me. Kids shouted. A dog barked. Huh? I spun around and instantly recognized the big dog racing up the stairs. Wowzer? Oh no! He followed me to school. Wowzer down! I shouted, but the dog never listens to me. I watched helplessly as the giant monster dog, my giant monster dog, stretched onto his hind legs, leaped onto Mr. Jinks, licked the principal's face, pawed his shoulders, leaving big mud stains all over. Then I heard a loud rip as Wowzer tore the jacket pocket right off the principal's brown suit. Mr. Jinks' face turned bright red. Artie, he said softly, is this your dog? And that ends chapter 4. Don't forget, we have a quiz right after this. See you in the next chapter.